is a whole different thing. She's not gone, but I'm still feeling that grief.
I wonder if it's something like preemptive grief.
Wouldn't that be great? Yeah, kind of easing into it, making it easier later. I would love if that were true. I just have my doubts. It's just one layer of the grief that I'm experiencing. It'll be another whole different thing once she dies.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I don't think there's any preparation, or any way to make it easier. It's one of those things you simply experience in a way that is all yours. And I guess one of the really important things to think about is there is no real calendar. People say, you buck up, you strengthen up here. You got to get yourself under control. Well, easy to say. And for some people, they might be able to do it. But for most of us, grief we simply experience it like a storm that comes across. We don't get to change the weather. We don't get to change our physical reactions to it. And we don't get to change grief. It's like a huge storm that envelops us.
Yeah, it's interesting too, and how even from the same passage of a person like your mom, you said your brother and sister and you had different reactions, and I'm sure a lot of that was based on their relationship with her, their proximity to her throughout life, maybe at the end of the life. I know with my dad, I was the one who happened to be with him at the very end when he literally gave up the ghost and had that last rattly breath. And I kind of feel like, number one, he'd waited for me to come home from a trip. I was in Korea at the time and came back, and he literally was waiting, and he was in the hospital. He had cancer. And but I also was able to let him go. The thing is, even though I call myself a spiritual person, I don't really know what happens when somebody dies. It's one of those mysteries of life that, darn it, I wish we would figure out. It would be so cool to know for sure before we have to go through it. Yeah. What the heck happens to us? Do you have any thoughts about that?
Right. Oh, of course. But just thoughts. I mean, I have to say, I haven't figured it out. But my feeling, I've been with a number of people who have died, and there's something about it, the moment of death, where there isn't really any sadness. Mm-hmm. Now, I mean, there's sadness because the person has passed, but they themselves don't seem sad.
Right.
In fact, for a couple of people, there's a sense of joy. One person said, "Oh, how beautiful," mm-hmm. and then died. And I thought, what was it that they were seeing? Yeah. And we have enough stories about people who everyone else thought was dead, but who was actually just experiencing something close to death that shows we're not going anywhere. We're almost certainly the soul is continuing. And it's really interesting to think about that. We think that our body is the tool to carry the soul around, when in fact, the soul is the tool that creates the body. And when it's finished, it just drops it. There's a wonderful story, and I wish I knew exactly what tribe this was from. A friend told me the story that when he was young, he read a book about an American Indian tribe that believed death was something like this. You're walking for a long time. And when it's time to die, you drop your body and you keep walking. And I thought, that's simple, and it's clean, and it makes such great sense. And of course, the soul is, it seems to me, eternal. So it will create a new body in a new time, even a new gender, maybe a human body. I'm going to stick with that for now. And it will create it and use it for a period of time to experience the world, to experience strife, to experience love, to experience the spring leaves and smells. Anyway, And then when it's over, when the body's finished, it drops it and keeps walking.
Almost like shedding your skin, like a snake or caterpillar.
I like the idea. I'd probably reserve the whole snake idea because.
How about caterpillar in a cocoon and you end up as a butterfly? Okay. That's a little more palatable.
I'd probably go with that. Yeah,
I did see a snake this afternoon, which I mistook for a garden hose. So, my son, Marlo, had the experience a couple of years ago at this point of his best friend dying suddenly in a car crash. And he literally just spent the night with us a night or so before. And ironically, Marlo had told his buddy when I think they were probably 20 years old at the time, 21, just around 20 or 21, maybe. And he happened to tell him, you know what, buddy, I really love you. I want you to know I love you, because they were friends. And he'd never told him that. And the next day he was gone. And when they went to the funeral, it turns out that they did an open casket, which was kind of shocking because he'd been in a car crash. But it was like from the chest upwards. And Marlo said his first reaction when he saw his best friend laying there was, "That's not Eric. It's not him." And he said, "It was the first time, Mom, I understood that you talk about something like an animating force in life." And because it wasn't there, and that wasn't Eric anymore. And so he said it actually gave him hope, as sad and as difficult as that moment was. So pretty amazing. So
wonderful.
Yeah, it was a very special, deep moment for him. So as we, creep towards a couple of minutes left here, any thoughts about preparing? I know we can't prepare for grief, but what about preparing through how we live to die with fewer regrets, without guilt? Any thoughts on all of that philosophical stuff?
Do I have at least a minute and a half?
You do.
Okay. Yeah, there are a huge number of things to do, I think, to limit regret. Life itself is just so strange, and you think you've got it figured out. You think you're moving in the right direction. A couple of years go by, and you think, "What the heck was I thinking? How did I get this wrong?" And I think we have to simply look around us, look at the people that we're close to, and make sure, just as your son did, that the people we love, we tell them that I love you. It's massively critical, but just as critical is experiencing that feeling of love. Now, I know some people think, I don't even know what that feels like, but there is a wonder, I believe, in the human soul that allows us to love, allows us to feel that. I mean, how do you describe love? That massive appreciation of the things and people in the world that make it so special. And I think we have to actually say out loud to ourselves, out loud to the people around us, even out loud to the sky in the morning, that you love it, and just really, really experience it. When it's gone, at least you can say, I said that. I connected in that moment with those things I love.
Fantastic. And what a way to live too, right? Feeling that wonder of love and of life, and caring and taking care. And it doesn't have to take a lot of time. And as you said, you just said, put your attention on it, be aware. And I think it's kind of mindful living about what really matters. And that's personal to everyone. Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah.
Wow. Oh, Ron. So if people want to get a hold of you, either for further discussion or hiring you for coaching or consulting, where do they find you?
Well, I live up north of Seattle. They can email me at Ron at rondonovan.com, or telephone. Do you give out telephone numbers here?
If you want to.
Sure. 360-941-9616.
Super. Wonderful. Well, thank you so much. And I just want you to know, as someone that in one capacity or another I've known for, 50 years or so. I love
Right.
you and appreciate you. Thank you so much for being your magical self and sharing yourself with me and our listeners and everyone you come in contact with. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Donna. I love you too.
Oh, thank you. And we love you too, Joe, our producer. And we love our listeners as well. Thank you so much for joining us here, Living Legacy Leadership. And do tune in weekly. We bring you all kinds of fascinating people and hopefully add value to your life and make things better. And we wish you comfort and love if you are going through a difficult time and a grief process. Know that this too shall pass. And eventually, as the old little vacation Bible school the song used to be, the peace that passes understanding down in my heart. And sometimes that's a comfort to me. Just remember that little kid song I used to sing. So thank you all. And do remember that the life you live is the legacy you leave. Bye-bye now.